Hubie needs a little work. I haven't talked to him in too long. Anyway, Hubie in the 9 o'clock hour today. Marcellus Wiley, he was calling for an 8-game suspension of Tom Brady. They go 4. He'll join us later this morning.
And he'll also talk about his love for the Clippers. I believe his bed sheets are L.A. Clipper bed sheets as well.
Clipper crazy.
He's nuts.
And they look good right now.
Yeah, they do.
Last night notwithstanding. Ryan Clark today, Jason Stark's Trivia, Dave McMenamin is with the Cavs. So all that, again, all our guests as always on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. As far as the Brady stuff is concerned, just top line, and then we'll work our way down to the more specifics. I'm not at all surprised. I shouldn't say I'm not at all surprised. I wasn't very surprised by how hard the league hit Brady. I was a little surprised by how hard they hit the Patriots. I understand all of it. I'm a little surprised by it, and I think it is a little heavy-handed. That would be my top-line reaction. We can obviously get a lot more specific as we go, and we will. But that's my top line. I'm a little bit surprised at how hard they hit the team, and I think overall it felt like a little bit too much to me.
It definitely felt like too much to me, but in the same vein as you just said, I can see why they did what they did. They're just going to basically come out swinging, and a lot of people wonder, would it be the same against an owner? Because let's say when they nail the Patriots, that's Robert Kraft, okay? Mm-hmm. We know Bill Belichick is in there, but when you're hitting a team with $1 million fine and taking their draft picks away, Bill Belichick will deal with the draft picks, but the $1 million against the team and the hit to your, the legacy talk of not just Tom Brady, but this team, what's the thought going to be of them as they've been winning Super Bowls, a bunch of Super Bowls over the last decade and a half, to what your thought of him is, maybe is even more important to Robert Kraft than the $1 million. We sit there and joke about, the $1 million's nothing. Listen, the $1 million's nothing as long as you don't have to give up the $1 million. Can he afford the $1 million? Yeah, he can afford the $1 million. But I think a lot of it is about the look, and the perception. And Robert Kraft is mad about that. And that, I think a lot of people wondered where the league would go against one of its owners, because even though it was Troy Vincent and whoever he looked at, everybody is saying it's Roger Goodell doing this because Roger Goodell runs the NFL and Roger Goodell is hired by the owners. So would he do this to his owner? And some think, does he go too far to make sure he's setting the tone that, yes, he'll do this to the owners if he's going to do it to the players? Basically, he's in a can't-win situation at this point. I thought it would be a game. We both thought it would be a game for Tom Brady. And so I thought it was too much, but I'm not surprised the NFL went where they went with this. I thought they would go a bit heavy-handed.
The two things that I think come out of this to me are, I think that it was a game for the deflation. And look, there's no I guess I can't say there's no question. In my opinion,
and it probably happened.
He did it. I mean, he was involved in it. He did it. The debate is over how significant it is.
Right, exactly.
And my feeling all along has been that it isn't as significant as it has been made out to
be. You and me both.
Now, that's it. You can't do it. I can't sit here and say you can do it no matter how insignificant it is. So I believe that some sort of disciplinary action, and I thought one game was suitable for that. The non-cooperation, which despite the protestation of Don Yee, the agent for Tom Brady, clearly was outlined yesterday by Ted Wells.
Yes, it was.
Is a factor. And we spent all yesterday with 1 million executives. I mean, from Bob Iger to John Skipper. For those of you who don't know, he's the CEO of Disney, on to the president of ESPN, and all this. And there was a lot of this conversation. Yeah. And as I said to you, John Skipper is your boss. At the end of the day, if he wants to talk to you 12 times, you can't say to him, well, listen, I've already talked to you 11 times. I'm not going in for a 12th. It turns out that the 5th time they wanted to talk to McNally wasn't really the 5th time.
It wasn't really the 5th time. For Ted Wells, it would have been the 2nd time. The NFL's investigation before Ted Wells had talked to McNally 3 times. So, there's that in there. But the bottom line is, if you feel you have nothing to hide, you let your people talk.
All of that notwithstanding, not turning over your data or whatever it is. Someone made the comparison yesterday when we were chatting about this backstage at the Upfronts to not taking a drug test. It's the same thing as failing a drug test, right? You're supposed to be in a certain place. You're supposed to know where you are and all of that. And if you're not there at the appointed time, it's a positive test.
Yes.
So to me, that was one game. So I would have, if I had been guessing what was going to happen, or if they had said essentially it's 2 games, one for the non-cooperation and one for the deflation of the footballs, that's sort of what I would have thought seemed like punishment that fit the crime. As far as hitting the team, they clearly hit the team with a lack of institutional control. Because I don't think anyone in their right minds thinks that Robert Kraft was aware, or that Bill Belichick in this case. I believe that Bill Belichick was not aware that a little ball was air was being let out of the ball.
I agree with you, but they're responsible.
Lack of institutional control and past history.
Yeah.
So I think those two things came into account.
Without a doubt, I think the past history came into account, and these are their guys. You know, from the part-time employee to the full-time employee to your quarterback. This is your organization. You're going to get held responsible for it. So you got hammered for it.
And they wouldn't make McNally available. Yep. And you'll hear Ted Wells say that in a second. I just sort of want to give our thoughts. Then we'll let you hear all the Ted Wells audio from yesterday. The point of it is, what happens now, I think this thing gets much uglier. If you watch the way the Patriots are circling the wagons.
Uglier from Robert Kraft's side.
The Patriots are going to make this ugly.
Because it's easy from Tom Brady's side. Tom Brady is going to appeal. He has till tomorrow at some time to appeal. And then it'll go to an appeal. It'll either get knocked down or it won't. And that'll be the end of it. With Robert Kraft, the route they go, you're right. This could get pretty ugly.
Well, many people within the sounds of our voices right now may not be old enough to remember the heyday of Al Davis. Mm-hmm. But Al Davis, when he was the owner, the owner of the Renegade Raiders, the true silver and black Raiders, before they became the laughingstock they've basically been for the last decade, the just win baby Raiders, Al Davis was basically an island unto himself.
Sure was.
Fighting against the commissioner, Pete Rozelle, and the league. And the more you read about this and the more you just look at the initial reaction, it feels like Robert Kraft might go that way, which if someone had said a year ago that was going to happen, I would have said is the least likely thing I'd ever heard in my life.
Because remember, after Spygate, he basically, they accepted that.
He took the rap.
They took the rap. They said, okay, we take the discipline and we move on. Here, remember Robert Kraft, before the discipline came out, said, basically, we're going to leave it alone. We're going to accept it. We're going to move on until it was $1 million and a couple of draft picks. And obviously the notoriety that comes with that, which I think Robert Kraft thinks a lot about how his franchise, how his organization is perceived. So I heard those comparisons as well. The only thing I'll say, do we think Robert Kraft has some Al Davis in him? I mean, Al Davis was something. And now, listen, Al Davis, for those that are young, was huge for this league. Huge with what he meant to the NFL and to professional football.
He was a coach. He was the commissioner of the AFL.
Monster what his contributions were. But he also was known more for moving his teams and suing the league all the time. I don't know if Robert Kraft, while I think he's mad and I think there'll be a fight, I don't know if I'm going to go that far because you got to have it in your DNA to have no problem doing that. And Al Davis didn't have a problem doing that. I don't know if Kraft has it in him to go that far. Now, I could be completely wrong because you never know how someone fights back until you pop them in the face. And let me tell you what, they got popped in the face. So how do they fight back?
Well, so far they've come out punching in every way that they initially can. We'll go through that in a moment. I'll tell you why I don't think there's any way in the world this thing winds up in court and why. Plus, be listening today again. Last couple of days of our ESPYs contest, we're going to give you the word. You're going to give you the ways to enter.